have been thinking about how complex the whole idea of writing is. I mean, actually,
Exactly.
if you were an atheist and you just thought about the fact that human beings can write,
Mm.
it might cause you to believe that it couldn't be accidental because it's just so incredibly complicated. So think about it. To write something, first, you have to have an idea.
Right.
This idea can exist outside your mind as a source text or an article or information that exists, or it can exist inside your mind from an experience or a memory or an imagination. That
Right.
idea has to then go into language. So if it's a memory, it's probably a sensory memory, somewhat abstract, and you have to extract that and then apply the language function to translate it into words.
Right.
If it's an external idea and it came from words, you read it or heard it, that's a little easier to begin with, which is why we, of course, at IEW begin with, unit 1 and 2, source text. But either way, that idea has to exist, and that idea has to get into words. To do that, a child has to use their language function, right? They have to essentially say that either verbally or internally. They have to
Pre-process
say,
it.
they have to say something. So that's a language function. So if you see something, you see it and you say, oh, what I see is a dog chasing a squirrel, right?
Right.
A big dog chasing a little squirrel, a big dog chasing a little squirrel across the green grass, a big dog chasing a little squirrel across the green grass over to the tree, and so your processing capacity, you have to have the words, you have to have the vocabulary to translate the idea into, and then you've got to have the intrinsic language function, the mother tongue, to be able to produce a sentence that has the syntax that carries the meaning, with words in the right
So the
order,
grammar
with the right endings and
and
all that. Okay, so you have to essentially have an idea, say it to yourself. Then you have to hear what you said to yourself. Then you have to remember what you heard yourself say to yourself long enough to get the first word on paper.
So we have short-term memory. Yep, exactly.
Everything. It's just all, and then you've got to go access spelling information to get that word, and maybe you may or may not have stored that spelling information. It may or may not be easily retrievable, and sometimes you have to go so far into your spelling part of your brain, by the time you get the word, you forgot what you heard yourself say to yourself. Okay?
Exactly.
Then if you're dyslexic or dysgraphic, on top of that, you've got to get the spell information from your probably your auditory storage of that, if you have it, and say the letters and get them in the right order, and then also remember which way the darn B's and the D's go. Right? And then you're going like, is it this one or that one? You're trying to remember all those tricks, and and by the time you got a word or two, you very often have to go back to the whole beginning of that process, reconstruct the language, say it to yourself, hear it, remember what you heard, figure out what you just wrote, get to the next word. When I contemplate this, I really do think it's a miracle any of us can do this at all.